This is the Chicana in the City series, and we're back at another Sourapple PR event for the culture and by the culture. This time we're connecting with Latinos in radio. Shout out to Vane for joining me, because the reality is Latinos have the power to become the majority in many spaces, and we are starting to see it not just in radio, but music, fashion, and politics. It's our job to stop going against each other and uplift each other, support and open doors for the next generation. I connected with the iconic Cece Valencia, Gabby, Diaz, and many more to bring you some valuable gems.
So we're here at the Latinos in radio.
Yes.
And, you know, the more I look at it, I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of Latino. Like, we've been dominating this industry.
Absolutely.
In such a big way. And you yourself have been in the end. I mean,
21 years.
Iconic.
Oh my God, yeah.
How does that feel to be like kind of a pioneer in this industry and seeing like other people like, whoa, I want to be like Cece. Yo quiero hacer lo que está haciendo. Yo la miro que, you know, broke open some doors.
Yes.
She's talking to like big celebs. How do you feel about that?
Well, I've been doing it for over 20 years. I love it. Listen, when I was doing radio, there wasn't actually a lot of Latinas at all in radio. I was like one of the very few. So the fact that I get to see more and more, and we have prayed for this day, because think about it, 10 years back, we felt like we really didn't have a voice, but now we're starting to be heard, and you can start hearing little things now. Now it's this movement, and I love it, and we're finally being recognized, and I think that it's our just due. Yeah, a lot of hard work.
One thing I love about you is the authenticity behind it. You're like representando all the way. You're not watering it down. You're not showcasing. You are you 100%, and you've been very vocal about that. How do you feel like the culture being just not watered down, like authentic to you, and like what's your advice to other people who feel like they want to come into the industry and feel like they have to code switch and change it up?
You know what, my advice is, and I've always tell people this, everyone that I have mentored that's come through my studio is be yourself, do it the right way, get ahead with your work ethic. You know, you're going to move a little slower, I will tell you that, but I promise you your foundation's going to be a lot stronger. And that's what's more important, is the foundation that you build. So I tell people that, I'm like, don't change. I haven't moved as fast in the industry. I have a lot of respect. A lot of people respect me in this business, but it's because I refuse to switch up. I refuse to change. I have been in situations where they've wanted me to be more sexualized. I've been in situations where they've want me to water down my intelligence, and I won't do it at all. And I've gotten to, these are battles that I have fought behind the doors of radio that people don't understand. These are like in the offices of the program directors, where we've had our conversations, and I've thought many times like, okay, I'm going to lose my job, but I just refuse to change who I am. And this is who I am, and I love music, I love the community, I'm a very strong Latina, I'm a chingona, and I stand in that, you know. But also too, you know, I love to open doors, and I love to educate, especially the right way, you know what I'm saying? Especially the right way. You got to do it the right way, right? You have to. You can't switch your coats, and you got to stand for who you are. So I've been in talks with different people on radio when I've had, you know, my bouts where I'm like, is this really what I want to do? Is this really, you know what I mean, what the fight that I want to fight? And people have told me, if you ever gotta sell your dignity, see, get up and walk out the door.
Yeah.
Get out and walk the door. Always keep your dignity. And I have, and I love it. And you know, it motivates. And there's a lot of girls that are like, oh, I wanted to get in radio because of you. And I'm like, that's awesome. And I'm glad that I can make it a little easier. There was Latinas before me though too, that have made, you know, that really had to pave that way, and then they made it a little easier for me. And now my job is to make it easier for the next generation.
You know, we're here in the Latinos in radio by Sourapple. It's for the culture, by the culture. Gabby, you've been doing this, you've been grinding it, you've been, just before I was telling you, like, you've been one of those voices that have really pivoted the way, showing authenticity in our community, right? How does it feel to be kind of like that pioneer, obviously coming from like another generation, but really kind of being that voice in this era right now?
Honestly, it's crazy. I mean, I don't even look at myself like that, because I feel like I've kind of just been on the come up like everybody, right? I feel like there's always room for growth. There's always room for that one step above or whatever. But for me, I think it's just always been about the grind, that it's possible to do it, to prove it to people. Like, and that sucks that we have to prove ourselves, but it's always that much sweeter, right? Like once we get that, like, that one step above. Like, I can't tell you how many program directors told me before getting the full-time gig, like, hey, you're never gonna be on full-time, like, you're the part-time girl, it's fine. And not to mention, like, yeah, I'm Latina, but I'm also a woman, and I'm plus size on top of that. So it's like there's a lot of other struggles that come with it, you know. But I think just proving people wrong, I think it's just, like I said, it tastes a little sweeter, because it's like, oh yeah, you doubted me, but it's okay. Look at me now.
Look at me now, exactly. And then, you talk about the grinding and pushing ourselves, especially it's harder for Latinas, it's harder for women of color. How have you, handling those obstacles with grace and pushing those in, because we have to like compose ourselves, but like Cece was in there talking about, sometimes you got to break down and you got to be like, do you have those moments? And if so, how do you handle those?
I mean, I'm a human, so I think we all have those moments, right? I think for me, I have to give myself grace in those moments, because the moment you're so hard on yourself, you're going to spiral and go into that bubble. And I've been there. Like, I lived in the Bay for 6 years by myself, like moving for radio, not really knowing anybody. And I had to like kind of get in my own way in a sense and be like, girl, you moved, you got this far, you got to keep going. You can't like just go down into this like little ball and freak out or whatever. It's like you have to almost remember the journey in that sense and why it's worth it. Like regardless of how hard it can be, something's gonna be worth it. I think that's the part you have to remember that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we always say like, oh, there's no representation Latinos and there's no events and there's no community, but yet we are also the people that hold ourselves back, because you're saying like we almost get our own way. Our own community gets in our way of other people who are pushing it. How do you feel about that? How do you navigate that within our own community?
I mean, I think I try to come together with all of my peers in this, right? Like radio, whether it be even influencers for that matter, content creators, whatever the case might be. I think the fact that we're all coming together and knowing that there's a space for us and that we know we can make change and we can do what we got to do, I think that's the part that scares people, is the fact that we know we can do something about it, and that scares you. So the fact that we come up in there and we show our authenticity and show who we are and it works, I think that's the part that scares people, but there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to be a scary thing or a bad thing. It's just like, make room. We're here for a reason.
Helping each other out, reaching out to each other. I sometimes feel like because space is so limited, we feel like, if I bring another Latino on, they're going to take my place or we can't. But it's just kind of like my mom says, lo que es para ti, aunque te quites. Y lo que no, aunque te pongas. And so I live by that, and I find myself being really welcoming and open. And so whoever has any questions, anybody wants to get into radio or in the entertainment business that I can help in, I always do. But I think that the ones who are already here, we really need to work on that. And it's just like bringing other people in and being open without fear of someone taking something that's ours, because that's never going to happen. Success is not a pie.
Yeah, and that's an abundant mindset, right?
Yeah.
So, and also, like, what advice would you give to somebody who's like looking at it like, oh, there's so many people already, like, is there room for me? Like, they're kind of up and coming, or they have these big dreams and they're manifesting, you know?
So I don't know where I heard, it's like a podcast or something, and it was kind of like if you walk into the bread aisle, you see all these different kinds of like bread brands, but everybody has their own audience, and just because one has sourdough or whole wheat doesn't mean the other brand isn't going to have sourdough or whole wheat. So I feel like that's the way you should look at it, and you shouldn't emphasize on everybody else. Do your own thing, find your niche, find your personality, stick to it, and échale ganas. Like, there's enough for all of us.
Because we were just talking about reshaping the narratives, and that's what Chicana in the City is, all about reshaping our narratives, how we grow up to going into society. And Latinos in Radio has been, one of those voices that have been reshaping our narratives, showing us that we can be outside, we can be entertainment, we can be a voice for our community. What is your, insight on reshaping your narrative and going into this industry and being who you are, but also understanding that you need to evolve and grow and make those choices, like you said?
Well, when we grow up, I'm sure we have no choice. It's like it's given to you, and that's what you're given. You don't ask for it, but it's what you make of it, right? So growing up, man, if you stay in and like you come to a certain age and you come to a certain mindset, where like if you want to change, and you could make those steps to change, but some of us get caught up in our environment, not knowing the beauty of us having like layers to us, like onions. We're like beautiful onions, and onions make food good. Let me tell you, like a little, you might need some gum later, but it'll make your food good, and it's very delicious. A lot of us have layers, man, and we don't even know it. And like me, I was a late bloomer. I knew that I was good in skateboarding, but I didn't know what it would lead me to. So thank God I took that ride on skateboarding and followed my dreams and passion for that, because it led me to where I'm at today without even knowing this. And I've dabbled in all kinds of stuff. I was like doing influencer stuff with the Cholos Try. I've tried all kinds of things, like from radio to podcasts to everything. And you know, when you're in it, you're in it for everything. So you don't ever limit yourself, and that's what I tell people. And I'm like I'm a mentor to a bunch of kids that come from the inner city and that are incarcerated. I work for ARC. I'm a life coach and a mentor, and I could tell you right now, there's a lot of us that just don't have the confidence and don't believe in yourself. You know what feels great? You want to know what feels good? When people believe in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes you feel good. When you got people, like I have a team, finally, right now, I have a team, I could say, for this year, that people that believe in me, and they want to see me progress, and they want to see prosper, and they want to see me just like be better.
They're rooting for you.
And pay it forward. Always pay it forward. That's what I do. I come from the life of that other side where we started off, just like Pacoima, right?
Yeah.
Echo Park, no difference. You know, it's like it's a bad area, but it's what you make of it.
Yeah.
It's what you want to make of it, because you're the owner and the director of your own movie and your destiny. We're living our own films and we're living our own movies, right? It's how you want to be portrayed. That's the way I see it, and that's the way I've been living.
And how do you know, one of the biggest things that I struggle is like the limitations of limiting yourself, because we've been told to do one thing and stick to it, master it, make it, you know, but I love that you tried so many different things, and you saw what you liked, you saw what you were good at, and you saw what you needed to master. What's your advice to people who are like, I can't stick to one thing?
I pray. And every Sunday, I just came from my worship right now. I pray. I give it up because I don't got all the answers. Nobody has all the answers. So you meditate, you pray on it, and it'll come to you. And it may sound corny to some people, because years ago it did sound corny to me too. But you grow, and years in prison, years in solitude will give you wisdom if you do it right. And if you got to be vulnerable, though. You got to give yourself up, you know. And I'm still working on myself, and I'm still working to try to be a better person. Like I mentor. I have a mentee that just got through doing 41 years in prison, and he's become my good friend, you know. And he likes the way that he likes what I'm doing. He's like, "Wow, you did it in 3 years?" Because, mind you, I just got out 3 years ago, Pelican Bay.
Wow.
So I'm doing it.
You're doing it.
And I'm not doing it right by all means. I'm trying my best to do it right, but I make mistakes. But you know what? It's how we come back from them.
You know, we're here at the Latinos in Radio with Sourapple, and they're, you know, spotlighting individuals in the radio who have been highlighting musicians like yourself, who have been highlighting everybody, like really kind of pivoting the way. I mean, we've been dominating this space for a long time in radio. We've been the consumers, we've been going to the concerts, we've been paying tribute, but we also have been underrepresented in a lot of ways. How do you feel about having spaces like this that are, you know, embracing la cultura in such an authentic way?
Well, it's all positive, and it's been a long time coming. Now that we've been here since forever, but now that we're having the spotlight on us, it's time to bring up the positive and show what we love to do best. We love to love, and we love to bring family together, and community. Community is very important to us.
Yes, community is very, very important. And even within our community, we want to like open the doors for everybody else. What's your advice to the youth that's coming up, that wants to be in radio, music, or just entertainment in general? Do you have any like gems that you want to drop and let them know?
Well, first of all, never give up. You know, keep on grinding, keep on cultivating your art form. Do a lot of research. And also bring a positive to whatever you do. Bringing God into the space, bringing family and doing it with love. That's the best thing you could do. And also give back. Like I love to give back to my students, my musical students. And also I'm a special ed assistant for LAUSD. So I always give back to the new generation because they are our future. And we have to cultivate them also. Show them, you know, the way. Show them our art form. Show them our culture and show them to be proud of who they are and where they come from.
Latinos in Radio at the Sour Apple. How are you? I know you have a podcast. You talk to a lot of Latinos. You are like breaking doors too for like podcasters as well. You know, how does it feel to be in a space where it's spotlighting Latinos in an authentic way?
I think we finally are getting the light that we deserve and we work for. So first and foremost, it's a blessing to be around amazing creators and people in radio, and to be around people that, you know, come from similar backgrounds. It couldn't be any better than this. We deserve it.
We do deserve it. How do you, what's your advice to like, you know, the youth that's coming up and like they're watching you, they're listening to you, they're listening to other Latinos on the radio? I mean, I know we've been listening to Latinos on the radio maybe beyond that, but what's your advice now that you are in the space and like kind of just in the industry too and working away, seeing the ups and downs? Give me some jewels, gems. You know?
Yeah. Honestly, first and foremost, stay yourself. Be authentically yourself. How our moms would say, no te dejes llevar por la gente. So if it fits you, it's perfect for you, and if it's not for you, then leave it. Pero, I mean, échale ganas. You know, hay sol para todos. There's the next day coming, so don't ever give up. It may take you 3 years, it may take you a year, it may take you 6 months, but keep it going porque el sol sí va a salir.
I feel like what Apple is doing is a good thing because there's a lot of Latinos in the entertainment industry, but I feel like there's a lot of cliques that only help, you know, friends. Oh, some friends don't even help each other. They're all about me. I gotta blow up first. I gotta come up, and we can't have that mindset. We gotta be like, if I don't get the role, I'm gonna share whatever audition I have with my boy and be like, hey, there's an audition for this. Because if I don't get it, I want you to get it. I don't want to be. I'm not that type that's just gonna be like, if I don't get it, I don't get it. I'm not gonna share it. You know, I'm the type I want to share. I want all of us to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And even, you know, with the clicks and everything, have you encountered people that you really like connect with and have lifting it? And, you know, what would you say to people who are like scared to come into the industry because they're afraid they're going to be rejected?
Trust me, when I first started, I started as a background actor. And I was bald, pelon, looked like a homie from the street, which I was, you know. And I was nervous because like street stuff, I was like nothing but like coming into Hollywood, being on set, seeing a bunch of white people. I've never seen so many white people, you know. So, because I'm from Boyle Heights, so it's like, it was like a little nervous, you know. But once you get comfortable just doing it, you know, like anything, you know, you get comfortable. But anyone who wants to come in, I feel like, you know what's crazy? Like, Hollywood's our backyard. I meet so many people from all over different states coming over here trying to make it, and I'm like, damn, our people, this is our backyard. Like, we have an advantage. And that's what a lot of people tell us, like, that I meet from like New York, like different states. They're like, damn, how come everyone that's on set is from like a different state? You rarely see someone from LA. And they trip out. They're like, man, if I lived here, I'll be pursuing it. You know what I mean? And I thought about that. I was like, you know what? That's right. It's our backyard, and we're not even pursuing it. You know what it is, though? Because we live here. We're comfortable. And you know what I mean? When you're comfortable, you're just like, it is what it is, you know? But if you go somewhere else where you have to hustle, you have to grind. If not, you're going to be homeless. If not, you're going to be starving. You know what I mean? So I think that's what it is. Mm-hmm.
How important is for you to step into those spaces, you know, where it is dominated by white counterparts, and still be yourself and be like, no, I'm not switching. This is me. I'm bringing my cultura. I know more about my cultura than they know. You know, how important it is for you to stay true to your roots and authentic?
I think we have to. And what helps is we as a community have to do our own projects. Like, we have to have our own writers from LA, directors, everything, you name it. And I think it's happening. I have a movie coming out April.
Oh yeah, what is it called?
Yeah, it's Bridge to Somewhere.
Amazing. Yeah. Where can we find it?
Well, it's going to be on streaming and selected theaters. So it's not out yet, you know. Like, I'm just giving you a little like insight, you know what I mean? I'm one of the actors. I'm a producer, and I cast the film. So I did a little bit of everything, you know.
I love that you're not limiting yourself to just one role, and that's like, I feel like that's ingrained in our culture to take on different roles and take on different things and challenge ourselves with that. Is that something that you're like, okay, I want to act, but I also want to produce, I want to write, I want to do all of that too?
I think it comes from like our background, like our family, parents, or whatever. Like, we don't just have one job; we do multiple jobs. So we wear different hats. You know what I mean? I want to act, and I also want to produce, and I want to write. You know what I mean? Eventually direct. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely, I see that. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. And you know, one of the things I've been asking everybody is like, what city you rep? You told me Boyle Heights, but what is your favorite spot or place, or what do you love about Boyle Heights?
What's my favorite spot to what? Like to
or like
eat?
just eat or be like,
Well,
what makes you feel like, okay, I'm home?
My spot where I grew up. I grew up in Estrada Courts housing projects, so that's home for me.
And that always takes you back to everybody.
Just good memories and bad memories, but more good memories.
And what would you tell the kids from those from that neighborhood to that now that see you?
Oh man, they just a dream is not just a dream. A dream, you can make a dream a reality, because I'm proof of it. I grew up there, and I never thought I was gonna like leave the projects. You know what I mean? There's more to that. But when you live there as a kid, you don't know, you grew up knowing nothing but the projects, so you kind of get stuck, you know? And it's an easy way to go into like bad habits or get into a gang or do negative stuff, you know what I mean? But I think now with the technology, social media, kids could be anything. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us.
I was on Instagram. This is when Instagram first popped off, and I thought like, okay, I'm super loved, right? Somebody left me a negative comment, and it killed me, like for reals. I was like, what? I don't fuck with people like that. I go to work, I make my money, I go home, I mind my own business. But I remember going in the living room, and I was like, kind of like, whatever, like, just down. And my mom's like, what's the matter? And I'm like, somebody made a bad comment on me on Instagram. She's like, so? Can you delete that person? And I was like, well, yeah. She goes, then delete it. And I was like, okay. She's like, why would you want negativity on your page anyways? Delete it and move on. And I was like, you're right. And it kind of just took I took it with that, and I take it with a grain of salt. But it's not just radio personalities. It's content creators. It's people with podcasts. People that put themselves in the public eye. You just have to understand the negativity will come too, but you just got to take it with a grain of salt.
And super quick, Cece, like I feel like a lot of people, you're just like, okay, well, you have to get out of LA to make it back to LA. I'm very lucky that I'm born and raised here, and I was not one of those people that went out of LA, but you went to different markets. Yeah. How was that experience of like traveling to different markets and then coming back?
Well, when I started at a station called Wild 96, I was there for about 4.5 years. Then a station called La Que Buena bought it. And so they pulled us in the station on a Thursday, and they told us that it was our last day. And I thought I was going to be able to go on the radio and say goodbye. So I said, so what do I say tomorrow? And they're like, oh, no, sweetie, yesterday was your last day. Everybody got let go. I ended up going to a station in Vegas called Hot 97.5 in Vegas. And I wanted to continue radio. And so I went by myself. I didn't know a soul at all. I sent my air check out, and as a matter of fact, it was Jay Cruz that had me send my air check to Hot. And I did, and I got hired, and I thought, shit, is this something that I really want to do? I've never been away from my family. You see, I'm super Mexican. I am connected to my mother's hip. And so it was really hard, but I did it. I overcame it. I was there for 5 years, and I remember everybody saying, you're not back home anymore. And I thought, like, what does that mean? Meaning that at home I was spoiled. Here, they were going to make me work. And they did. They did. I had a program director by the name of Sharita Salisbury that put my ass through the ringer. But you know what? She made me tough. She made me tough, and it worked. And then I came back into the market. And it was hard coming back home because, you see, I'd been gone from LA for 5 years. So in 5 years, what happens? There's new promoters. There's new clubs. There's new influencers. They're not the same people. So I had to start from the bottom up again. And I did, and that was a little bruise to my ego, I will be honest about it, because I'm like, oh shit, I thought I could tap in with this person. That person's not in charge of this, community anymore, if you will. So I had to do my homework again, and I did, And I went away and I came back, and they say in radio, you're not a real radio personality until you got fired. So, yeah, right? So, yeah, that's a saying in radio, you know. So, you know, this being like, K-Day being like my 6th station, I was fired from K-Day and they brought me back. But it's always because I've refused to not stand my ground, you know, and I will always remember what Julio G taught me. And there's a lot of people that have taught me. There's Adrian Scott, there's Demiza, E1 that are here. You know, he was the program director of Power 106 for such a long time when it was super poppin'. You know what I mean? So there's people that you take and you let them guide you, and a lot of good men in radio. And the men in radio have made me tough, because when I do cry, I remember Adrian Scott was like, "Are you crying? There's no crying in radio. You better toughen up." And it did toughen me up. But at the end of the day, you do have to move. Sometimes you do have to move away to come back, and that's okay too. It's part of your own personal journey.
I feel like working in radio is like one of those memes where you're smiling and it's like telling everyone I work in radio, and then the next picture is crying. It's like how it is working in radio. That's really how it is. Gigi and Leche, you guys being a generation of Latinos in radio, what do you guys hope to create a pathway for the next generation?
Ladies first.
Thank you so much. I hope that I can bring, I've never thought about this question ever before, and I'm probably gonna cry, but like Cece said, that you open up the doors, and they're open wider, you know, for another generation of women, you know, because you do come into an industry, like we've said, that is very male dominated. And the fact that you put your foot down and you stand your ground for everything that you think of, no matter how big or how little it is, as a woman, it's important to you. So I'm hoping that I can bring more doors open to these other girls who are coming into radio for sure.
And Leche, how do you feel on that? On top of also, because I know you talked with a lot of up-and-coming Latino hip-hop artists too.
Yeah.
How do you hope to find a pathway for them?
Shit, I mean, when I got into Power, it was around like the moment Latin trap was kind of popping off. So the moment I saw that kind of opportunity of like, well, sonically, trap is hip-hop. It's in Spanish, but how can we intertwine that, you know? I was just trying to like, what can I do? What can I do? So, shit. Got Bad Bunny to pull up to Power. Fucking Russian De La Guerra, Noriel. I was just trying to like, fuck it, like, what can I do? But to answer your question, just leave an impact and inspire them to like, oh shit, yo, yeah, we're in there, so let's keep going for it. No, say, I mean, it's a deep question. It's a, shit, we got...
I know you don't like deep questions, that's why I had to ask you.
You know, I got trauma, dog. I can't get deep, man.
If I really asked him like a trauma dump question, we'd be here for hours.
Yeah, just show people we can run shit, you know?
Yeah.
That's
now,
it.
before I get to my last question, I do want to let you guys know that I will open it up for some questions if you guys have any, so if you guys can start thinking. But this last question for every one of you, what does it mean to be a Latino in radio?
For me to be a Latina in radio, well, it's a little different. Well, not for all of us. A lot of us are in hip hop, but for Latina in hip hop radio, it's a blessing. I get to expose my culture, you know, to hip hop. I get to show hip hop that our culture respects it. Also, to be a Latina, I think it speaks to the younger generation and to the little girls that you can do something that's non-traditional. What we do is non-traditional work, right? So there are different avenues, and that's my biggest, I guess, the biggest take I want to, you know, go ahead and give you guys is that I want to open the doors, and even if you don't want to do radio, that's okay. You want to do something that's non-traditional, that's okay. Create your own path, create your own journey. It's about you. This is your chance. This is your world. You can take the world, you know what I'm saying, by storm. You know, do whatever you want to do, but live your true, authentic self. Whether you're black, white, Latino, red, purple, I just want you to live your authentic self. And I think that's what we're all doing here. You know, it's a lot of hard work. Radio's not easy, let me tell you guys right now, especially in this day and age. Back in the day, radio and TV were king. We're not anymore. We have podcasts, we have streaming, you've got Spotify, you've got Pandora, we have a lot of competition now. So radio had to humble themselves a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And being out there in the community, that's where the money's at. That's where it's at. If the community rocks with you, they can't fuck with you. Period. And the community rocks with me.
She said what she said.
20 years hasn't passed by just for nothing, okay? Yes. No, yeah, definitely. I know in previous years, I went around the station and asking, like, what does radio mean to you? You know, just trying to figure out where everybody's at. And I slowly learned that, to me, radio, being a Latina in radio, is magic. Yes, it is. Magic because I'm a girl. And it sounds very cliche. We've said it so many times here, but we are in a male-dominated world. And in my side, for sure, it's all Latino men. You know, I work in a reggaeton station, so it's all Latino men. And here comes a little Mexican brown girl thinking she knows about reggaeton. Bro, I know more about reggaeton than you will ever, you know, because I'm listening from the bottom. You're just still over here just trying to get, but no, this bro that's coming up, he's gonna give you more money. He's gonna give you more money. So that's been, but it's been magical to see all of that happen, even though with the tears, with the frustration, with the, you know, happy moments, it's been magical for sure.
This is the Chicana in the City series, and I'm your host, Natalie Garcia, and I'm also a Chicana that was born feeling like que no soy de aquí ni de allá. My whole life, I felt like an outcast, not just in my family, pero también en mi comunidad, as well as white prominent spaces. I was called the pocha, whitewash, too Mexican, too hood, and so on. But instead of letting these negative narratives and labels or people consume me and bring me down, I put on my best outfit, mis botas, and created my own story. I learned to confidently embrace and love all of the parts that didn't even fit in. As I pivoted forward, I saw a bigger purpose for me to create a series to amplify other individuals with similar struggles, experiences, but different perspectives, who are also changing the narratives through artistic expression, their work, and creating a bigger community impact with just existing and shining bright. Mira, I know this series might not relate to everybody, and that's my point. We're not supposed to fit into every mold or label, whether you're Chicano, Latina, Black, or just a girl from the hood with a big heart and over-the-top dreams. We may never fit into other people's narratives because we are meant to pioneer our own. And that's why this city is where intuition meets cultura and arrives at our legacy. Stay tuned for season